What is going on, guys? It is Dylan, and today we will be discussing steroids versus peptides. Not only will we discuss what exactly each are, but we will discuss the effects in terms of building muscle and burning fat, as well as the overall health outcomes that come from consuming each. To start off with a quick disclaimer, this is for entertainment and educational purposes only, and by all means not a recommendation. So we will start out with what is a peptide. For those that are not familiar, a peptide is a short chain of amino acids. A chain of amino acids that is 50 or greater is a protein. Anything under 15 is a peptide. Now, peptides have been around for a long time, like a very long time, and it's just getting all of the wave now because of the new uses that are being put into place. Maybe you've heard of Ozempic. Yes, that is a very popular peptide because of its weight loss capabilities. But there is an entire world of peptides out there that is not Ozempic. And if you've known anyone that is diabetic, well, insulin is actually one of the OG peptides. Insulin is a peptide. There's been peptides that have been around since the 1980s that actually help increase the production of human growth hormone. These are things that get our body to do naturally what it has the capability to do, but might not be doing. So one simple way to think about it could be that these short chains of amino acids are something like a code, short lines of code that tell our body what to do. And so this is the important distinguishing factor between peptides and steroids, is that it gets your body to do natural things that it is capable of. Whereas the difference is a steroid is a synthetic form of a specific molecule that gets your body to perform and react in a certain way. Now, what's also important in this distinguish here is that it's one form in a steroid. It is one single form of human growth hormone, whereas our body can actually make many different types of human growth hormone. Because, well, that's just the case. With any sort of molecule in our body, there's very many different variations that have different functions, different outcomes. But when bodybuilders or professional athletes are injecting themselves or consuming in other forms these types of steroids, it is just one simple form. And it has a negative effect on the body, not only from having super physiological amounts, but because it's just this single one amount instead of the beneficial aspects of having a wide range of every single marker hit in forms of whatever testosterone, human growth hormone effect these things are supposed to have. Now, when it comes to peptides, many of them, almost all in fact, have to be subcutaneously injected. There are a few that can be consumed in oral form, but because they are such short chains of amino acids, they're delicate little compounds, and they can be completely destroyed by the gut before they even reach your bloodstream. So this is why many of them, not all, have to be injected. And as soon as people break out the needle, everyone kind of freaks out because, I mean, I get it. I understand. There is something completely different about injecting something, regardless of what it is, right? You take a pill, I mean, it's going to be in your bloodstream. But the second that needle is out, everyone just feels some type of way. It feels wrong. It feels strange. It's uncomfortable. And so this is where people immediately jump to, oh, you're doing steroids. And you know what? If you are consuming peptides, you're not natural. I mean, if you're swallowing pills or injecting yourself with something, you are not natural because you are taking something that was created in an unnatural process and putting it into your body. But it is still entirely different from steroids in the aspects we already discussed. But the second that needle comes out, it's another level. You're taking it up to 11, as some might say. But in terms of products that don't have to be injected, luckily, one of the most popular and, I would say, in my opinion, important, can actually be taken orally. Now, maybe it's not fully bioavailable by the time it is absorbed, and you lose a little bit of that dosage before it gets there. But for the most part, BPC 157, the body protective compound, can be taken orally, which is great because BPC 157 is across the board seen as something that helps recovery. It actually helps the production of receptors for human growth hormone as well. It helps your body produce nitric oxide, improving blood flow. Now, when I speak about these things, notice there are multiple variations of improvements of health with each of these, which is where we get into the all-around health benefits of these compounds. And this is why biohackers like Gary Brecka, this is why bodybuilders like Chris Bumstead are starting to back these products and fully believe in them. In fact, recently on an episode of The Ultimate Human, Gary Brecka said that he thinks in 5 years from now, peptides will be just like a multivitamin, and people will be consuming them just like multivitamins. And Chris Bumstead says that they already are multivitamins to the bodybuilding community. But the wonderful thing is that they actually do improve our health across the board with multiple different markers. And this is where advancement and people trying them and improving the knowledge of them is going to really come into play. Because again, the most common one that people know is Ozempic. It's just across the board talked about. Everyone talks about it, but Ozempic is like relatively low on the scale of effects. Ozempic does one thing. It stops making you hungry with antagonizing the GLP-1 receptors. Okay, that's great. You're going to lose all sorts of subcutaneous fat that you probably shouldn't have had in the first place. But we're already well past Ozempic. While people are still catching on to Ozempic and trying to obtain it, we're past that. We're on to things like GLP-2s like tirzepatide. We're on to GLP-3s like retatrutide. These are things that aren't just making people lose subcutaneous fat, but they are actually making people lose visceral fat, lowering their fatty liver, and causing all sorts of health markers across the board to improve. And this is where science shouldn't be held back through regulation, and they need the ability to have proper trials, proper distribution to people that are genuinely willing to help and want to have a desire to improve the future of humanity. This truly will be the place and time where people can begin to decide if they want to live a genuinely healthier life and a longer life. Because it's not just weight loss, it's not just muscle growth that will be affected. There are peptides for skin health. There are peptides for sexual health. There is an entire world of peptides out there that is improving day in and day out. Whereas steroids, on the other hand, they're getting better. But in terms of health improvement, it's a just drastic world difference. They are two very different things. Now, for a bodybuilder that's trying to win the Olympia, I mean, peptides are just your multivitamin. They're a joke compared to steroids for gaining muscle. But I did say we were going to discuss the differences in effects. So, how effective would the most optimized human growth hormone muscle building stack of peptides be versus a anabolic steroid stack? And if we're looking at the numbers, there's a range of optimized stacks for human growth hormone peptides. Now, you start at the bottom, you're looking at something of a combination of CJC 1295 and ipamorelin. Now, something like that could get you about 10 to 15% of the effects of steroids in, call it a 12-week period. That's actually pretty good. When you think about anabolic steroids being able to put on like insane amounts of muscle, especially when they're first cycling and you get that first hit, it's just drastic. It's ridiculous. You become a different person, not only physically, but mentally as well. But 10 to 15% is a good amount. And there is another step up from there. You can go from CJC 1295 and ipamorelin to something called tesamorelin. And it's going to give you 15 to 20% of the effects of anabolic steroids. And that's pretty damn insane. I mean, you think about people who take anabolic steroids in a period of 3 months, they can put 15, 20 pounds of muscle just absolutely insane gains. If someone put on 20 pounds of muscle in a month and you got 25% about, that'd be 5 pounds. So if we're looking at 15 to 20%, we're somewhere in the ballpark of 3 to 4 pounds of muscle growth in just that period of time, which is actually ridiculous. It is genuinely incredible. But as I said before, peptides increase other beneficial health markers as well. And so one of the beautiful things about a stack that is geared in the direction of human growth hormone is it actually improves your body's ability to metabolize fat. Now, it does not defy physics, so you can't just bulk, just eat as much as you can and totally recomp and lose all your body fat and gain muscle. No, it's not quite like that. But you can be somewhere in the ballpark of a recomp where you're sitting around maintenance and you are growing and burning fat. You can have periods of deficit and bulk during the same time frame that is going to drastically make you leaner while drastically making you more jacked. And that's where it gets pretty damn insane. But the fact of the matter overall is that if you're a legitimate bodybuilder, you're probably not even going to play around with this weak shit. You're just not going to waste your time. But if you're the average person that actually wants to improve their life and improve their health as a whole, then the biohacking community is preparing something for you in the background. It's not even in the background anymore. It's posted on billboards on the freeway. It is about to be thrown in people's face and become an entire new world of performance, health, and living, because it is improving lives all around. And you know what? One day, to make it the multivitamin, we're going to have to get to a place where people don't have to inject it, because that's just an immediate write-off for most people, and I understand that. Luckily, like I said, for BPC 157, I did start taking the oral form that can be obtained from InfiniWell, no affiliation with the channel, and I will see how that actually has its effects on my recovery and repair. But it is an exciting world out there that might be worth at least paying attention to. Always do your research, always speak to your physician. But in terms of steroids, it's not something that the average person will really be inclined to go towards, because steroids have a drastically more effect on muscle gain, but they've got a drastically higher effect on negative health aspects as well. And the average person wants the gains, the leanness, and the beneficial health aspects, which looks like it's going to be obtained from peptides. If you've got any other subject of peptides you want discussed, if you have any comments, any critique of anything I claimed, said, by all means, leave it down below. I appreciate your time. I look forward to hearing from you guys, and I look forward to this new world of peptides and biohacking that is going full-fledged on the world. I'll see you guys all in the next one.